This is how to get your focus back as a student. It was January 2024 and I had some big goals for that year. I wanted to pass my graduation exam with more than 80%. I wanted to bulk up to 70 kilograms and get like lean, shredded. And I also wanted to pass my driver license exam from the first shot. And on top of that, I wanted to scale my agency to more than 10K per month. All of this in less than 6 months. Well, guess what? Fast forward 3 months, I think it was in March 2024. Guess what? I failed my simulation exam, my sample test. I got like less than 60% that was required. My agency was basically dying. It was just like maintaining some revenue for me. I was basically not doing anything in it productive, at least. I didn't have the progress I wanted in gym and I wasn't even ready for my driver license test. It was like a moment where I would go only downhill. I didn't know what to do and I was like focusing on too many things. But at that point, I didn't know this concept that I'm gonna teach you today. And I sat down one evening and I asked myself, why can I make progress? Because I saw athletes, doing business, doing their sport, eating healthy, businessmen I saw that were kind of like a rounded man, But at that point, I was just missing the right view on the world. I just asked myself, how can they do it? And I can't do it. And I didn't have an answer. I searched on YouTube. I even asked ChatGPT to give me some answers, but still I wasn't clear on what to do. And I think a few days later, we were like in a class. In one of my classes, we had a special topic to discuss. And it was like the teacher gave us some codes and we had to comment and get our opinion on it. Well, my code was one from Confucius, which said like something like this: if you try to catch 2 rabbits, you'll catch none. And I kind of had like a light bulb in that moment, it went something for me. And while I made my comment on it, I realized that I was in the same position, but I wasn't just like running for 2 rabbits, I was running for 4 of them. And on top of that, I had like my family. I wanted to also eat clean, a bunch of stuff that I was trying to do at the same time. Obviously, I wasn't doing them at the level I wanted to, and that made me sad, because if you don't have the progress you want, if you don't have any solution, you'll also like be sad. You're gonna have like bad thoughts about yourself. You're not gonna think you're capable of doing these things. So that was my mind back then. But hearing that code and thinking on it, I just discovered that we have like this limited focus that you have. And I was spreading my focus into 4 things. I was spreading it into business, into school, gym, and also my driver license, the main 4 of them. And I didn't have a clear priority, because even at that time, I believe that the word priorities is the right word. Well, it's not, because you can't have multiple priorities. You can only have one priority. Because let me ask you something: you want to make money or you want to get healthy? And listen to this question. For example, they're gonna send you on the moon, all right, to extract some crazy minerals that are very toxic for your body with a lot of radiation in them. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna say yes, which means you're gonna make more money, but you're gonna sacrifice your health, at least a part of it? Or you're gonna say no, you're gonna sacrifice the money, but you're gonna keep your health? So as you can see, there's always has to be a priority, and I didn't know that back then. My focus was spread. I didn't have one clear thing to focus. I was like 20% in all 4 of them, and I didn't make any progress. But at that point, I realized that I had to change something. I had to have one priority, one big priority that my main energy will go into. And I choose that to be school. I got like 70% of it into school of my time. I got all the resources and energy. My main brain power in the morning would go into school and preparing for my final exam. And then gym was also important, because health and my driver license agency was like stagnating. I just let it be and get some a couple of money off of it if it was to produce some. And 2 months later or 3 months later, when everything ended in July, I think it was like 1st of July or something like that, guess what? I went from failing my exam to getting more than 83% final real exam. And then I also got my driver license from the first shot. Gym was still there. I went to maintain, be healthy, like don't be a couch potato. So that wasn't part of my like big goals, but the main goals that I had, driver license and exam, I achieved them. And then I had a switch. From now on, everything that I will do is going to be in live seasons, and we're going to talk about that later. But if you want a course on this, I got my school community, full modules on exactly what I taught you, but like everything that you need to do. We can even talk there, we can have calls where I can guide you and I can ask me questions. So if you want that, check the first link in the description. And to close this story, the same thing I did last semester when I got a 4.0 GPA in my university university. I got my priorities straight right and everything rest, and everything that was not essential, I wouldn't just not do it because it wasn't part of my plan. Now let me ask you a question. If there's a guy, a fat guy with health problem, and he wants to lose weight, but at the same time he wants to start his business because he wants to make money, and at the same time he wants to look maxing, at the same time he wants to be more spiritual, what would you tell him to do? Would you tell him to make sure he makes space for everything in his schedule, or would you tell him to choose one thing or two things that interconnect and focus on it? Well, probably you should choose the second thing. Let me tell you the story of David Goggins. He was a very fat guy. He was, unhealthy. He had a lot of trauma in it, and he was basically a failure. That was his mindset. And what happened is that he wanted to become a Navy SEAL, but they gave him a deadline of 3 months to lose 80 pounds and pass the ASVAB test, like the SAT test for Army. What did he do? At first, he kept his job, he kept his family, he kept being like in a comfort zone, and he failed the first test. What happened after? He gave up on his job, on his wife, family, and he gave up on comfort. In less than 3 months, he lost 80 pounds, he passed the test, and he got into Navy SEAL. Now, the lesson that you should take from this is that if you focus on something, you're gonna be capable of great things, of things that you believe that are impossible. And as I may show you the diagram of focus, your focus is one straight line. It's like 100% of energy in it. The more you spread it, the less you're going to achieve. At least that's gonna happen when you don't have a foundation for everything. When I talked about athletes, when I talked about entrepreneurs, for example Messi, who has like his brand, he has his followers, his Instagram, his social media brand, his businesses, and he also plays and he's very healthy and he's an athlete. Well, because some of the things that he does, they're just like outsourced to other people. He has, he's very good at one thing, and because of that he can do more things. But when you are mediocre at one thing, you cannot go into multiple directions. You have to build yourself before expanding and becoming a rounded person. And what I'm gonna tell you is so important. This is gonna give you like an unfair advantage because you probably didn't hear anyone talk about this. What I taught you until now is about seasons of life. When you think in season of lives, what I'm gonna tell you now is gonna give you an unfair advantage, and this is super important. You gotta think in seasons of life, alright? And what do I mean by that? So for example, I had a season of life where I focused on school and driver license, two things, and I passed them. Before that, I didn't have a season of life. I failed them. Now, season of life could be like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, depending on what you want to do and the progress that you want to get. The more you focus on one thing or two things, the more, the more progress will be. So it's up to you. Now, I want you to think in seasons of life. But the second question would be, how do you know in what season of life you are? Well, that should be very simple to do. You gotta admit and you gotta be honest with yourself. What's your priority right now? Are you in a poor health shape? Are you broke? Are you not social? You have like, bad grades? What is the essential thing in your life that you had to do to become great? And you gotta think on that. And I've talked with a lot of students at my school, which are and I've talked a lot with successful students at my school and other people, and from books and from podcasts and from stuff like that. And every single one of them uses this technique of season of life. They might call it something else, but it's like the time frame on which you focus on specific things, and the other things are just distraction, are just noise. And everyone has like a couple of priorities. I have like 4 of them, which I kind of like made a category for each of them. If you're curious about my priorities, there's something like this. I got health on first place, then I have school and business on the third. Now, when you choose your season of life, you gotta make sure that the benefit higher than the cost. So for example, you wanna focus on playing piano, but the benefit has to be bigger than the cost of maybe cutting socials, maybe cutting gym, maybe cutting something else. So you gotta make sure of that as well. Now, when you're very clear with the season of life that you are in, everything else must be a distraction and everything else must be removed. In my scenario, right now, I'm in the YouTube phase and mind phase. Basically, I've interconnected 2 things in my season of life where I focus on creating content and where I focus on, shaping my mind in a better way. Everything else is just noise. I don't care about it. So besides those things, you have to cut all the noise, all the distraction. For example, I did remove my socials from my phone. I did stop my notification. I don't watch any soccer games anymore, which was like a big passion of mine. No movies, no non-essential events. else. Of course, crazy thing is I even stopped going to a public gym and I'm just training at home because my priority right now is to be healthy, of course, but to maintain, my business, to grow my YouTube channel, my school, and also shape my mind. So everything else has to become a tool for that. And you might think that's hard. You might think that's uncomfortable. And it is. At first it is. But when you know in what season of your life you are, if you cut distractions and if you focus on what you have to focus, it will feel very enjoyable. It won't feel like a punishment or some self-sabotage that you are doing on yourself. It won't feel like that. For me, it doesn't feel like that. And I'm sure that it won't feel for you as well. Because you know in which direction are you going. And of course, when you're choosing your season of life, you're going to choose something that you already enjoy. For example, I enjoy doing YouTube. I enjoy, getting more knowledge for shaping my mind. It's something that I enjoy, and it's okay for me to remove the distractions. Now, of course, if you want a full course in a community with like-minded people that think exactly like you got the first link in the description, my school community, go check it out. Now, the third point and last point I want to make is what's next. You understand focus and how focus works. You understand season of life, and you chose your season of life, but what's next? What's gonna happen? Well, I don't like to use the word simple and hard, because I don't believe they're true. I believe they are like something that we see and we believe on, but I don't think that's true. There's nothing simple, there's nothing hard. There's always going to be obstacles, there's always going to be things you have to solve and change, and it's up to you to choose the type of obstacles and issues that you want to have. And the same with season of life. It's not going to be simple, it's not going to be a straight line. You're going to have a lot of obstacles in your face, you're going to have a lot of doubt, you're going to want to change. Like after a week, you're going to want to change your season of life from, let's say, from work to gym, from gym to social. You're gonna always change because you didn't cut all the distraction, you didn't cut all the noise. But I want you to keep this in mind. Whenever you have disbelief in your choice, whenever you have doubt in what choice you made, and whenever you think about switching or about removing or about doing something else, just remember this. Everything that happens is just a test from God, a test from the universe to see if you really are who you say you are. It's a test to see that you are the man who stands by his word, or you are the man who changes after a week or after, a bad day. Don't be emotional with this type of decisions. Now I'm gonna give you some action points that you can actually do after watching this video. First of all, I want you to create your own diagram of focus right now, how your focus is, spread. And then create another diagram of focus with the season of life that you chose. And besides those focuses, probably you're gonna have like one or two. You gotta cut the crap, cut the distractions, cut everything else. Only focus on essential things. If they are related to your focuses, of course, go. For example, if you are in a business, focus business season, and you have like an event you want to go to network with other people, of course you're gonna go because it's essential. It's gonna help you expand your business knowledge and expand your network. But if it's like a party or a frat party, don't go because it's not gonna help. And the last thing that I want you to do is I want you to stand still of distractions. Remember this, every time you have a doubt, every time you are tempted to switch your life season, to switch your focus, to switch some things, don't do it because it's gonna go worse. You're not making it better for yourself, you're gonna go worse. And guys, if you are a student and you wanna make sure to master your day, win your mornings, conquer your day, and first link in the description is my program, go check it out. It's gonna help you evolve a lot. And don't forget this, win your mornings, conquer your days.